Hey, sports fans, PB&Z Sports. PB, guess what? We're being sponsored this week by a company called Astound Mobile. Oh, actually, I work for Astound, not the mobile department. But even better, we are fueled this week by a company called Progression Brewing, and it's adults like you and I are talking.
Oh, nice. Fittingly.
Yes, yes, yes. Hey, before we get into football, we're going to talk playoffs. We're talking about playoffs. Yes, we are talking about playoffs, Jamora. NBA Thursday night, the Boston Celtics went down and played your Miami Heat and absolutely throttled them. This is up 144-110. But what's more unbelievable about this game, Celtics shot 64% from the field, including 55% from threes. And it wasn't like they shot only 10, they shot 40, and 95% from the free throw line. That made their overall shooting percentage 80%. That means 8 out of 10 things they threw in the air went in the basket.
I know. That's incredible. But yeah. By the way,
Wow.
yeah, I live here, but they're not I am a Boston Celtics fan through and through. So whatever about the Heat, all I know is they just signed Spoelstra to a huge deal. He's the highest paid coach in the
He's the highest paid
NBA.
coach in the NBA. You know what? He's a good coach. I
He is a
I
good,
do like him.
yeah.
I do.
They're
And they
always
made a
there.
big move getting Terry Rozier. That was a good trade.
Yeah, yeah. No, the Celtics though are going to be good this year, man. They got all the weapons. Drew's looking awesome, right? You still got
Yeah,
guys.
yeah. Well, but you know what? They still we'll talk more basketball coming up, but Brown and Tatum still fall apart against big time opponents like they did against Denver a week ago. So we'll talk
Yeah.
more. But let's talk some playoffs. Last weekend, were any of the games, by the way, we're gonna talk football. I have to have steak on a bone. Oh, yes. God, man. Were you surprised by any of the games?
Not really.
No.
I mean, I wasn't. I mean, I know we didn't pick them all right, and we had a
I
few.
know we all picked Buffalo. However, I did go 3-1 against the winner, and 3-1 in the spread because I did pick KC to cover the spread.
Yeah,
But Buffalo, they are who they are. They had a lot of injuries. First of all, let's give them a break because they had a lot of injuries. But Mahomes, it just finds a way to freaking. And you know what? I never used to be when we used to talk with Casey Josh all the time. I was not a big Mahomes fan. Now that he doesn't have glorified receivers around him, I'm more and more impressed by the guy.
yeah, yeah. I mean, every team we picked last week, we basically said, we wouldn't be surprised if the other team won. It's not like even Houston. I mean, we even took the points with Houston. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? Because we thought Stroud would come out and play a little bit better, but. So that's why I don't think there was any surprises. I think who should have won, and I think the best four teams are still standing.
I will tell you, the foreshadowing in that game, I didn't watch it live. I went to bed. I watched it after I knew the game outcome, and obviously the missed field goal. But at the end of the first half, Buffalo scored a touchdown at the very end of the half, right? The extra point, he kicked it from the left hash. It almost went wide right then. He just got it inside the crossbar, the upright. So that was foreshadowing. Every kick that night for him was right. And so I'm not surprised he hooked that thing right, in the last minute.
Funny how history repeats itself, right?
Oh man, yeah, yeah. Who's the guy that missed the kicks for them back in the 90s against
Why?
the
Right.
Giants? Why,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
He said he felt. He came out last week. There was a statement from him saying, "I really feel bad for this guy." All right, before we talk about the games this week, let's talk a little news. All right, a lot of stuff is going on in the coaching ranks. Bill Belichick is not amongst them, and we'll talk about that in a moment. Philly, they have fired basically everybody. The offensive coordinator, the defensive coordinator, Matty Patricia, who should never have an NFL job ever again, in my opinion. But Nick Sirianni stays. Are you surprised?
Yeah, I'm a little surprised. I thought it was time to move on, just because that out of all the teams this year that you could actually blame the coaching, that was one of them. Sometimes you're plagued with injuries or you have unforeseen circumstances that just cause you to lose some games. This team lost games because of lack of motivation, and
They were 10-1 at one point
I
in time.
know they just fell off a cliff, and the guys didn't even look like they were trying. So to me, that's coaching and motivation. So I think he should have went. I think he should have been gone. But
I agree with you. So a couple of the hirings that happened. Let's talk about the one in Carolina, Dave Canales. He
yeah,
was the Bucs offensive coordinator. I didn't realize he was the Seattle coordinator before. He's
yeah,
coached Russell Wilson, turned around Geno Wilson, and turned around Baker Mayfield. Will he
Yeah.
be all right, you think?
Geno Smith. Yeah.
Geno Smith,
I think he's okay. I think there's an opportunity here for him to, rebuild the team and get the team going. And I don't think he's a one and done guy. I think he can put himself there for, several years with the opportunity to build the team. So, because it's not like Atlanta's job where you're getting all this talent and you gotta make something happen, right? To me, it's like, okay, go in, see if first project is see if Bryce Young's the right quarterback, right?
That's right.
And do we need to get another one? That's like
Right.
project number one. Then
Yep.
project number two is start to build around that, right? You got to make sure your line's solidified, but you got to get some skilled players. You don't really have any. Adam Thielen's going to be retiring in the next year or two. Who's their next best receiver there? Is it
They got nothing, yeah.
Jonathan Mingo, the receiver they drafted? I mean, who is it? Is it DJ Chark? I mean, they don't have guys there. So you got to start building that out. And of course, even the running back position, the whole offense needs to be figured out. And if he can do that, you can't give him a year and say, oh, you won 4 games next year. See ya.
Yeah, you're not with that mess, right?
Yeah, you got to give him a couple of years. Yep.
Yeah, I agree with you on that. And by the way, he's going to deal with David Tepper, right? Oh my God, who's a wild card in itself.
Yeah, but Morris, let's talk about Morris on the other hand, right? He's got a different situation.
Yes, he does.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
what about Brian Callahan going to the Titans?
I don't know. I'm not sure if that's a good fit. I don't know. I don't think he's going to have a long leash either. I think he's going to have a year leash, maybe 2 tops, and he could be gone.
In a minute, we're going to make a prediction on which one of these coaches that are hired in this round get fired first.
Well, here's the problem. Here's the problem with his situation is that he's in an up and coming AFC South.
Yes.
And when you got a full year of Anthony Richardson next year in the Colts, right? You got you got Stroud and the Texans now, and you got Jacksonville. Tennessee, by all rights, could finish last for the next 2 years in that division easily. And if that's the case, I think he's gone.
By the way, I do like Will Levis. I think he's going to be a good quarterback. So we'll see with him. But you're right. You're right. He could be the guy. That's the guy I got penciled in right now.
What about Raheem Morris?
So Raheem Morris, interesting, because he was an interim coach for Atlanta at one time. Now he's back there, right? And by the way, the rumor is he's bringing the Rams offense. He was the Rams defensive coordinator. He's going to bring the Rams offensive coordinator with him as well. The big thing with him, though, is does he have a quarterback? We don't know.
Right. But even still, because we said this might be a good fit for Belichick to go to Atlanta. But here's the thing with him. I think he has the shortest leash out of everybody. And here's why.
I agree.
He's getting a talented offense to begin with. He's got the skill players around. I know they need a quarterback as long as they figure that out. And their defense is easily top half in the league. So I truly believe that he's on. And here's the other thing about Atlanta. The opposite of what I just said about Callahan in Tennessee is that he's in one of the weaker divisions. So all he has to do is overcome Carolina, overcome a New Orleans, who I think New Orleans is like $35 million over the cap. So they're not going to do any changes next year. And then, Tampa Bay, we'll see what they come out with. But here's an Atlanta team that by all rights should win that division next year. If they don't, I think he's out.
Ooh, all right. How about this? So the 2 guys I think will probably stay around a while. Gerard Mayo getting the Pats job, and of course Jim Harbaugh goes to the Chargers.
For sure.
The only way Harbaugh doesn't stay for a while is if he doesn't win with Herbert, like in year 1, right?
Right. Yeah, and I mean that team. I mean we've been picking them every year to at least kind of get somewhere, and they failed to. So if that continues, there's another short lease potentially. If that team goes 7-10 next year, he could be done. That team's got to be in the AFC Championship next year. To me.
I agree.
Yes.
And by the way, Mayo probably has the longest leash, I think. I bet he gets 5 years minimum.
Yeah, and there's another rebuild. That's the same thing as Carolina in my book. That's why I put Dave Canales is also in that same category. Is like this, they're going to have time. They're going to get their 2 to 3 years to kind of rebuild what's going on. I have no expectations for the Patriots or for the Panthers next year.
No, I don't either.
But
all right, let's talk about the big elephant in the room. Vrabel, Pete Carroll, and Bill Belichick, none of them get hired at all. Still 2 openings out there, Seattle and Washington. Washington's the only one I see him going. I can't see him going to Seattle. And by the way, if Dan Quinn goes to Seattle, he's the first one getting fired. I guarantee you. Guarantee you. He gets 1 year and he's done. But Bill, is it best for him to take a year off? I mean, it looks like he's going to have to anyways, but it's probably the best move, don't you think?
It might be, but I mean, what is he going to be? 72 this year?
I get it, but listen to what he's going to have right next year. If McCarthy doesn't win a Super Bowl in Dallas, it's his last year of his contract. It's also Dak's last year. And they're going to clean house if they don't win a Super Bowl. He's going to move right in. I guarantee if they don't win a Super Bowl. So it's Dallas, Philly. Nick has to go if they don't get in the playoffs or even win a game in the playoffs. Sirianni has to go, right?
Yeah, I agree with that.
So there's another one. And by the way, your other new team, the Miami Dolphins, Mike McDaniel, too much talent. He's not a coach. He should be a coordinator only. If I was in a locker room with him talking, I would walk out if I'm a player. I don't know how he's a head coach, but he's gone if he doesn't win next year. And I got another one. Here's an interesting one for you. Andy Reid could retire. He's in his 70s.
Yeah. All right.
So if you're Bill, let me add one more. If it doesn't turn around quickly this year when they draft Caleb Williams, because that's what's going to happen with the Bears could be firing their coach as well, right? So which one of those 5 jobs, if that all happened next year, would be a better fit for Bill?
Probably the Eagles.
Okay. All right. Yeah, because you know why? Jeff Lurie's not going to interfere with him like the Jones boys will, right?
Yeah. I think it'd be the best fit for him, and with the talent on that team, I think Philly would be the best move.
Jeff Lurie would go bananas if he got.
Philly still got cap space too. I mean, they're like 20 million under the cap, so they can maybe still acquire some players here in the next couple of years. So we'll see.
All right, let's start the playoffs this weekend. We're going to start out with the Ravens KC, which is probably the most interesting game, right? Obviously, right? Hey, by the way, PB, this could be your biggest nightmare ever this weekend. If somehow Detroit upsets the 49ers and Baltimore wins, you have the guys that you said should not be NFL quarterbacks, suck, horrible, will never win a Super Bowl. One of them will win. Goff versus Lamar Jackson. You know what? I'm going to get a sign that says, and you have to wear it, a T-shirt says, I'm not with stupid. I am stupid when that happens.
And not to mention, our preseason show, my prediction for the Super Bowl is San Francisco and Kansas City, which I am
could still happen. Yeah.
I'm the only one who has 2 teams.
Yes, you are. Yes, you are.
But if what happens, what you just said, the whole thing's out the window because no San Francisco, no Kansas City. So it's like the worst possible situation that could happen for me.
You know what's going to happen? You're going to have to sit through that game if that's the case, and you're going to have to wear this hat. That's what's going to have to happen. All right, let's talk about this game. So a couple of interesting stats I just want to point out about this game. This is really Pat Mahomes in his first 6 years has an 800 winning percentage, first all-time in the NFL history. Lamar Jackson has a 763, second all-time NFL history. That's unbelievable to me when I think about that. Ravens, #1 defense against points against, yards, and sacks. KC's #2 in those categories. I didn't realize that. This game is like even better. Mahomes, 9-0-1 against the spread as a road underdog. Baltimore, 6-0 this year against the spread against teams over 500. What do you figure here? What's going to happen?
What gives? I mean, something's got to give in this game. Man, it's so hard to predict this one. I mean, I really went back and forth. And last week I said, I always say I'm never going to pick against Kansas City, but I'm going to do it this week. And I took the Bills and I got burnt by it, but when I take a step back and I look at this game, I know in general, Lamar Jackson hasn't fared well in the playoffs. We know that historically. But he does have a decent team behind him. Offensively, to me, they're average. They're not like a powerhouse offense, but they're a solid offense and they're a sound offense. And they make good decisions. And Lamar Jackson's a big reason for that. You got the threat of him running, which is also a potential problem, and that dual tight end threat with Andrews coming back and
yes, my boy from Oklahoma is back. Yes.
So now you have that to contend with. So by the way,
their tight end, Charlie Kohler, is pretty good as well, man. I remember him in the Big 12 as well. I think he played for Iowa State. They got 3 great tight ends over there. They could go 13 packets all day long and just run the ball down their throats if they wanted to.
Yeah. And then I said to myself, what's more likely to happen? Is it more likely that Kansas City's offense will stymie Baltimore's defense and score 27 to 35 points in this game, which I don't know if I see that happening.
Not in the rain. Not in the rain. It's gonna be raining.
Or can Kansas City's defense just completely annihilate Baltimore's offense? And I think that could happen. So I'm expecting this to be a low-scoring defensive game, believe it or not. And I think Kansas City can make the bigger plays defensively to win this one. So I'm going to take Kansas City straight up to win the game. Of course, I'm taking them with the 3.5. You give me 3.5, I'll take it.
It's 4. It's 4.
It's 4 now. I'm going to take the 4, and I'm going to go with a pretty low-scoring game. I'm going to go like a 20 to 13 kind of game here. That's what I'm predicting. So I'm taking the Chiefs.
Lamar gets his vindication. You're gonna wear on the stupid shirt. He goes to the Super Bowl, but KC covers.
KC covers the 4. Okay. G Money has Baltimore winning and covering.
Oh, okay. That's aggressive. Yeah, I think you're right.
I'll double check it as we start going into this next one, but yeah.
All right, San Fran against Detroit. Right now, America all loves Detroit. They're the team everybody's hoping, the Bleeding Hearts are all hoping Detroit does something. Dan Campbell, the guy we made fun of 4 years ago for his stupid speech, has turned out to be a pretty damn good coach. The players absolutely love the guy, right? At the end of the day.
Yeah.
But this San Fran team is, and it was a close game last weekend, a very close game last weekend, much closer than we thought, right? At the end of the day, Green Bay made it interesting. They have Debo's back. He got knocked out early last week, but he's going to play. There's no injuries. It's the first time, I think, in a conference championship that every single player is healthy on the team and ready to go. And as much as I don't want to say this, San Fran, I don't want to win. I think Brock Purdy's still ready to lay an egg at one point in time, but it's not this weekend, I don't think. I guess San Fran winning.
Yeah, and G Money has San Fran winning as well, as do I, and for basically all the same reasons that you said. This is a powerhouse of talent, and you don't need a superstar quarterback. You need a quarterback that manages a game.
You know what they need? They need him to be Rajon Rondo in 2008.
Manage the game.
Point guard, yes, that's it. Just manage the game as the point guard.
Right. Be smart. Get the ball in your playmakers' hands. I mean, this isn't a rocket science to move this offense down the field. Great. And they're playing, let's face it, a Detroit defense that's subpar, in my opinion, especially against the pass. So
yes, that's a big deal. That's a big deal.
That's a big deal. I just think San Francisco's got. Now, what was a question for me is 7. Are we going 7 or 7.5 with the line?
Has it moved? Last I saw, it was still 7.
7. Okay, so it's 7. G Money's got Detroit covering the 7. I think if San Francisco gets up in this one, it could get ugly. I mean, I think you. Yeah,
I get San Fran. I get San Fran winning. I get San Fran covering and a money line, whatever you want. I get San Fran.
Yeah, and I'm going to do the same thing.
And I hate San Fran.
And I'm doing the same thing. I think Detroit will hang in there, but at the end of the day, I think San Fran puts up 38. On this one, I think it's a high scoring game. And I think Detroit can probably put up like 24 to 27, somewhere in that range. So, even if I go 38-27, even 35-27 is covering, right? That's 8 points. So
yeah,
I'll go 30 to keep it interesting. I'll go 35-27 Niners.
Okay. But if it goes the other way, oh boy, I can't wait for you to wear that t-shirt. All right, man. Nice. We'll see. Hey, by the way, no Texan Z tomorrow because I have to go to a gymnastics competition at 6:00. So I won't see the end of the first game, and I'll miss most of the second game live. I'll DVR them. So no text to me, please.
All right. Shut off your social media. And
yes.
Next to you. Make sure no one next to you is like this.
Yeah. That's for sure. All right. Time to eat some raw meat.
All right. There you go.
See you, brother. Talk to you later.
Yeah, man.